Dusty helps Richmond resurrect its season. The power midfield exposed yet again. And the Lions midfielder with the ultimate up yours to the Suns. All that and more to come from the round so far. Brought to you by AAMI. But Kane Corns, you're at Marvel Stadium tonight. The Tigers now 5-4. Sounds a hell of a lot better than 4-5.
Yeah, absolutely it did. They came back from 28 points down. These were some of the final moments. Just things didn't go GWS's way at times. That one bounces over Whitfield's head. They had a touch of luck, but what they did do, they put the Giants under significant pressure in the second half. They dominated time in forward half. They were able to get the dominance out of the centre bounce, and they just kept re-entering the forward 50, and the Giants, in the end, under far too much pressure and couldn't hold on.
You mentioned that 28-point lead. That's what the Giants led by during the third quarter. This from Daniel Lloyd put them 3 goals up in the final term, and from there it was all Richmond.
Yeah, they looked winners all night for me, the Giants, particularly at half-time. I thought they were in a really good position with the players that they had. Their midfield was dominating, but I mean, it was Dustin Martin, it was their key players that stood up. Revolt was well beaten again all night, but he had that moment there. And I mean, Dustin Martin, his second goal from the goal line, soccer. They went upstairs, we'll have a look at it. He cleaned up the umpire there. That was ruled a goal, and we've seen this one. But just things like this, millimetres in it, good teams make the most of those. And Rioli, what a week he had. He was the match winner. The Giants had one last chance with about 40 seconds left on the clock. Green, perhaps a free kick, probably not in the end. And then we're going to see Tim Taranto have a shot here. Not sure why he went the dribble kick. Probably could have run to the goal line and gone in the air. But another save from Dylan Grimes. How many times has he done that in his career?
And Richmond have had, this is a footy club that's had some big wins on the biggest of stages. You don't see those players celebrating like that too often in a regular home and away season.
No,
that's
you
how
don't.
much it meant to them.
Yeah, and particularly Dustin Martin, who's not usually that animated. It did. 5-4, keeps their season absolutely alive. And with the players that they had out, can we just say, what a remarkable effort. What an amazing team. They looked beaten all night. And with 6 of their probably best 10 out, they're able to somehow hang on for what was a famous victory. It was a shame only 18,000 Richmond fans were there.
Yeah, their lowest home crowd since 2004 for the Tigers. Let's go to that man now, Dustin Martin. We spoke about his importance in the last quarter, but this is late in the second quarter. Early in the second quarter, his involvement, but then late in the second, he really had some big moments.
He used him really well, Damien Harbour. He just sensed the moment, like it was centre bounce, but it was majority forward. He had the matchups that he liked forward, and he was able to capitalise on that. It's just one-on-one, so strong. Stays in the contest, doesn't get beaten. That was one of the soccer goals he kicked. That was his second. This one here, just another one. He's just composed, he's calm, and I'm not sure there's a player under physical pressure in the history of the game that is so composed and knows what he's doing. So he's been tackled by 2 GWS opponents, never panics, and he's able to make the right decisions at the right time. He looks sharp, the sharpest I've seen him for about 5 weeks.
And Liam Baker went into the midfield, had 33 touches, a career high with that midfield decimated. Just one on the Giants, Jesse Hogan kicked 4 goals alone in the second quarter. This is a player who the Dockers gave up for absolutely nothing last year. Richmond actually got a call from his management last year, explored the option. He's now at the Giants.
That was amazing. Kicked 4 goals in that second quarter, as you mentioned. Hardly cited after half-time, so they put Dylan Grimes to him. Grimes did a very good job on him. But look, if they can get him to hold up for 3 or 4 years and take the 3 first-round draft picks or thereabouts that you got for Jeremy Cameron, and you get Hogan for nothing, it's not the worst result for the Giants, but he does look fit. He covers a lot of ground. The only thing I'd say is he's kicking for goal. He looks tentative from about 50, so whether he's still concerned about soft tissue injuries, but he had a big influence in the first half.
And you mentioned the Giants looked winners for most of the night. They won the contested possessions by 15, which on most other games for that footy club gets the job done. Now, back to one more moment late in this game. Dustin Martin, you think it's going through, touched off the hands. This goes through, goes upstairs. The umpire's call was originally a goal. They went upstairs, gave it the goal. But Adam Wodjick Kane, this is the same goal umpire last week that stood in the face of Sean Darcy and Joe Danaher and caught one. Now he's back and was subbed out.
Yeah, he's having a rough trot. Just another example why we need better technology. I mean, how the umpire could have seen that. He's called goal. He's called a goal, so that's what we've gone with. But he's on his backside when he's called that. So we need better and more accurate goal line technology. I'm not convinced that was a goal, but there was nothing there.
You can't be convinced it wasn't a goal, though.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And there's nothing there convincing in the moment. That's the difference of the game. It could be the difference for a team making the finals. It could be the difference for a coach with his job. We have to get better technology. How many times have we said this?
Agree. Now to Adelaide Oval next, Kane. The Dogs, they move to the top of the ladder for tonight before Melbourne play. build off the back in their midfield. Tom Liberatore having an outstanding season.
Yeah, it's just one of the most powerful midfields we've seen in the history of the game. Just goes to show you can't have too many midfielders. Bontempelli, McRae, Treloar, Libba, 20 contested possessions tonight. What a season he's having. He's averaging 9.3 a game. Libba, on track for 200. That's only been done, you told me, by Brett Ratton.
Brett Ratton only done it once before. 200 club.
It's amazing. So lock him in for the All-Australian team. You don't have numbers like that and miss out on the All-Australian team. I know it's a jam-packed midfield in there, but and the Bulldogs may have 4. I mean, McRae's has 30 in all 9 of his games. Bontempelli should be the All-Australian captain right now. Treloar should be in there.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Another injury to Easton would be concerning, and Charlie Dixon was able to get a hold of a couple late, but Port Adelaide, as we said, they're just not good enough against top 8 contenders, and that was once again shown tonight at home against a very, very good midfield. So Wines and Boak in their midfield.
Yeah.
After that, who is it? That's the issue for Port Adelaide right now, and that's why I said 2 weeks ago that they're not in contention for a top 4 side, and that was justified again tonight.
So you're putting a line through them right now for top 4?
Well, right now, they're not going to damage against the top 4 sides. They've had 3 significant tests.
Yep.
West Coast away, smashed.
Yeah.
Brisbane, they were smashed in the midfield. Tonight, they weren't smashed. I mean, they were competitive. They were blown away early. They fought back. Great game of footy. And nothing there to say that they didn't give an effort and didn't try and those sorts of things, which you could have said the first 2 times. But they're just not able to compete with the best sides right now.
We mentioned the Dogs midfield. Didn't even mention Bailey Smith. He's having a fantastic season, has gone up a notch with Dunkley being out. And they found another one, the Dogs, only his 4th career game for Cody Waitman. Out of contract, Kane, that might change after this.
Yeah, how's the depth that they've got? A second-year player, high draft pick, first-round draft pick, and just knows where the goals are. And in the 4 games that he played, or 3 games he played last year, that was the case. Really good in the air. We saw him take a hanger in the VFL last week, one of the marks of the round and marks of the year. And this, he just knows where to finish. He plays with a smile on his face. He loves his footy. And he can do crazy things like this. He's got the X factor, clean, makes good decisions, and that was a sealer. So it was great to see the Dogs find another one. Their depth is as good as any. And just with their midfield, both their best ruckmen aren't playing.
Yeah.
So that's an amazing performance to have the numbers that they did, plus 6 in clearances, 12 in contested, without not one of their best ruckmen.
Cody Waitman, 3 contested marks as well. Aaron Norton, 4 goals on the night. You spoke about the Easton Wood injury. Here it is, their premiership skipper. Their backline has been exposed at times this year, held up well tonight, but this is another blow. Yeah,
it is, and leadership back there. I mean, he's such a good interceptor and just can't get going, so can't get a good run at it. When you have repeated soft tissue injuries when you're getting older, a little bit similar to Trent Cotchin.
All right, to our AAMI clangers next. What if I told you that Dusty Martin moment before wasn't the most bizarre score review of the night? Talk us through this one. Oh. Adam Treloar completely clean bowled.
Close your legs, Adam. He just had to bend down and close your legs. Wasn't short, straight through the legs. That was another goal review, one that they did get right. What's happening here, Mitch?
Isaac Smith thought he kicked the goal. Well, this has happened a few times recently, but he's doesn't enjoy the umpire's call. Here's the replay. Turned his back on it as well.
Yeah, I saw the replay. That was a point.
All right, this is Darcy Gardner. Hurt his shoulder again. A big blow for the Lions. We'll get to that. But the play goes on.
He wanted a stat. Yeah. He tried for a token stat there as he's coming off the ground. He had a rough day. He did. So, yeah, tough one at the office.
And talk about courage. This is our snapper, Dylan Burns, one of the best in the business.
Just one of ours.
Copying one from Chad Wingard. Talk about celebration. He went down. Not giving any respect to one of the best in the business, Dylan Burns. To that game in Tassie, Kane, the Roos, they snapped a 16-game losing streak. David Noble's first win as coach in North Melbourne on his 54th birthday.
Yeah, it's some of the best scenes we've seen all year. I mean, how good is this? A lot of people questioning whether North Melbourne would get a win for the year. I've enjoyed the signs. A couple of weeks ago against Melbourne, I thought there were some really good signs with the way that they're moving the ball. And this is great. I mean, this is what you play footy for. This is what you remember, the hour in the change rooms after a significant win. So, well done. They needed that. It looked at one stage like they were going to get blown away early against Hawthorn. They hung in there on the back of some big numbers from a couple of their star midfielders.
Let's go to their third quarter. They kicked 6 goals in a row at one stage between the third and the fourth quarter. Built off a couple of their big names. Aaron Hall putting together some good games at half-back. And the Hawks couldn't put up with it.
Yeah, you watch Aaron Hall do that and you wonder, why hasn't he established himself as an AFL player? He's had a really good last month across half-back, but I mean, their leaders, Cunnington, again, just huge. But as you said, 6 unanswered goals. And the Hawks give up another run like they have done so often, and it's becoming really familiar, unfortunately, for Alistair Clarkson.
So you said last week North Melbourne have probably the least inspiring young kids. Do you change that now to Hawthorn off the back of this?
I didn't say they had the least in the competition. I said Hawthorn are the team that's furthest away from a premiership, and I stand by that. I wonder about North Melbourne's drafting, but there's the run on for the Hawks, and just lapses, and you can see there
every
goals
game
against every game this year they've conceded at least 3 and up to 7 goals in one space of a short period without them scoring. So Alistair Clarkson hasn't been able to halt the momentum and their leadership on ground from Hawthorn, and that's from Ben McAvoy, who was an interesting choice as captain at the start, and that was questionable, to Tom Mitchell, a Brownlow medalist, to O'Meara, to Wingard, to Burgoyne when he's played. Their leaders haven't been strong enough to do anything about that on ground in the moment.
All right, that midfield today was absolutely smashed. Let's have a quick look at Ben Cunnington and Jai Simpkin. You spoke about that midfield from the Roos. These are no mugs in this Hawthorn midfield. McAvoy, Mitchell, O'Meara.
Yeah, Wingard was there. They're all there, and Ben Cunnington's been in really good form recently. He just willed himself today and almost dragged them single-handedly over the line. So he's ended up with 37, 13 clearances. He's had 9 intercepts as well. And a young player who's not that young anymore. Simpkin's been around for a long time, but developing nicely. He had a career day, Jai Simpkin. He's had 38 and 13 clearances, so they're career high numbers for him, and he was really influential. So massive tick to North, and it gives them something to hang in there for the rest of the season.
And exciting signs with Luke Davies-Uniacke playing one of his better games for the club as well. Just quickly on the Hawks, Alistair Clarkson's worst start to a season after 9 games, 2-7 now for them.
Yeah, well, at least now they're understanding of where they're at. Now, we've been saying it for 3 years. They've tried to fight that off, and they believed that they were a lot closer than what they were. Performances like that against a team who was winless and one of the worst teams we've seen statistically for a long time, they lose. Hopefully Clarko now knows it is rebuild time, what we've all known for 3 or 4 years.
They've got a bit of money in their salary cap to play with as well. The Lions, 5 wins on the trot for them, built off the back of our Saturday start. Kane, Jared Lyons had 37 disposals, won the Marcus Ashcroft medal for best on ground. He used to be a Gold Coast player.
It's one of the biggest mistakes, list management mistakes, a club has ever made. Like, can you think that they delisted Jared Lyons? Of all players, they delisted him. They gave him to Brisbane for free.
They weren't playing him. They said they had too many inside
nothing.
At the time.
They got nothing for him, and he's just dominated. He's a top 40 AFL player in the league now, and it's equally as bad that Adelaide let him go for not much, but at least they got something for him. I mean, Gold Coast, the lowly Gold Coast Suns, who kicked, 7 goals today, let this man dominate with 37 and win the Marcus Ashcroft medal. So a bit of motivation for him, there's no doubt about that. He's a genuine star of the game, and Brisbane got him for nothing.
Just quietly, a free agent still this year yet to be signed beyond this season. Now, the Lions' key forwards, Canes, we had question marks heading into the year. Could McStay, Hipwood and Danaher all play together? Yes, they weren't playing against much in this Suns backline today, but a tick for this.
No, and it's worked. They're just quietly sneaking up on the competition. 5 in a row. They're one of the hottest teams with the Bulldogs and Melbourne in the game right now. They're top 3. They can certainly win the premiership. I like their forward line because Danaher gets up the ground. Like he's not a stay-at-home forward. He can have high possessions like we've seen this year. Same as this man. Like Hipwood is so mobile. He's got a reasonable tank. He can get up. He's got good speed. And if they get a favourable matchup like McStay had today, they can identify that. So the flow-on effect from the defenders that the opposition have to have means McStay gets a lesser light and can capitalise. It won't be his turn every time. It'll be Danaher and it'll be Hipwood. But I like that. And then they got the mix of Zorko forward and also Charlie Cameron, who kicked 3 today as well.
Last week, the Suns lowered their colours in the final term against the Saints. Today, it was for most of the game. Stuart Dew saying post-match, saying, we failed to compete. We've lost trust in the rest of the competition. 13 goals they conceded across the second and third quarters.
And this is what Stewie Dew means. So this is the vision where he says, we failed to compete. This is it. So Lukosius here, what are you doing? Just far too easy. That's an uncontested mark in and amongst 4 Gold Coast opponents. They turn the footy over and then they lack the chase and the want to hunt the ball. So all good on offence, and the Gold Coast look great at times when they're running offensively like we've seen, and they had a good win against Sydney. When they need to defend and dig in like the best teams do, they don't want it. And that's what Stewie Dew's saying. A significant amount of respect lost this year and today, and they're a club that is a big, big worry.
Back to Friday night, Chris Scott said his Geelong side got lucky against the Saints. Max King looked every bit one of the best forwards in the competition before he was kicking for goal.
Yeah, he did, and it's easy to highlight this, isn't it? I actually think his technique is okay. That snap there, he needed to lift his leg, but he's just poking at the footy. I think his run-up is compact. No doubt about it that he leans back on the footy. I think it's all fixable. Like, it's not an awful kicking style. It is absolutely fixable. He'll be shattered by this, and you could see that as he's coming to the bench here in the scenes where he chucks the water bottle, and he cares. And that's what I like. I'd guarantee he'll do everything he can to fix it, and he'll be a hero at St Kilda shortly, and he'll fix that issue.
Saints have gone from the second best side in front of the big sticks last year to the second worst, and that. Have a look in even 19, 18, 17. It's been a bit of a history
Yeah, I think
problem.
I've tried a number of coaches down there that perhaps haven't worked. Now, Brett Ratton, I liked his comments after the game. He said, look, we're not going to listen to too many. Jared Ruffhead will have the job of working with him and fixing him, but we don't want to overload him with information. I mean, he's a second year player, so he'll be okay. And it wasn't just him that missed easy shots on the night.
Speaking of Brett Ratton, here he is speaking about the lack of free kicks his side got against the Cats.
To think you have 85 tackles, I thought we out-tackled them, and you get 3 free kicks for the day, 85. Don't know if it's worth tackling. Just, set up behind the ball and flood back, and I'm not sure. I don't think we got our reward for our effort around the tackling component of the game.
Does he have a point here? So 3 free kicks from holding the ball decisions for the night from 85 tackles.
Yeah, well, the vision speaks for itself. Absolutely, he's got a point, and it wasn't just in this game. I've seen it across round 9 where the tackler is working so hard, and it's such a great aspect of our game to physically put this sort of pressure on, and they're not being rewarded. Yet up the other end, a defender can't even touch a forward. He can't chop an arm, he can't put an arm around, and that is a free kick against. So we've got to start rewarding the tackler, and as the AFL often do, there will be a correction and there will be an overreaction after comments like Brett Ratton has said, like we saw from Alistair Clarkson. But he had a point, and there were probably 4 or 5 that should have been rewarded to his players on the night.
Rowan Marshall, a big loss for the Saints, out for at least the next month. We'll have more foot concerns for him. That is not good timing for the Saints. Up to the SCG, Kane, the Swans too good for the Pies. We wanted to highlight a couple of these work rate efforts, firstly from Tom Papley.
Yeah, so when we say playing small forward is one of the hardest positions in the game, this is what we mean. You've got to get so far up the ground to defend. As soon as your team wins it, you sprint as hard as you can to get back and reset as a forward and mark the footy inside 50. That's why Tom Papley is as good as he is. And I love seeing the flow-on effect. So McInerney's a young player. No doubt he's watched Papley and Heaney at training, and he's got, well, I can do this as well, and I'm prepared to do it. So watch him outwork, I think it's side bottom and Noble here, and get forward and set up a forward entry for his team that ends up in an Isaac Heaney goal. So that is what the best small forwards do. It is such sometimes a thankless role. Sometimes you do a lot of running for not much reward. But a couple of the Sydney small forwards got their reward today.
Just on the work rate, 29 tackles inside 50 for the Swans
Huge.
today. So they're doing it defensively as well. They're 4-0 against last year's finalists. As for the Pies, 2-7 now. A couple of howlers again with ball in hand, and Nathan Buckley was none to impress.
Yeah, well, this summed it up. Just under no pressure. Skill errors. This one passage of play. Well, look at the amount of skill errors that they make in this one passage of play. Like from good players, side bottom, uncontested, missing a handball, a 2-metre handball. We saw Noble do it, and then we see Quainer under not a lot of pressure, miss an easy lead-up kick, and Nathan Buckley can do nothing but put his head in his hands, very frustrated. Not much a coach can do about that. So we can put the pressure on Nathan Buckley, but if his players can't execute, what would you like him to do? Disappointing day, really disappointing for the Magpies today.
The Swans are there 6-3, solidified their spot now in the top 8 on the table. Kane, it's looking pretty good for the Swans as it sits. We mentioned the Bulldogs, they go ahead of the Demons just for tonight. Cats in there in third, and the Lions, as you said, sneaking up on the comp. Yeah,
they're the top 4 is really where it's at, I think. They're clearly starting to separate themselves from the rest of the competition, as can happen at this time of year. And then, the Giants lose touch. Big game for Fremantle. They've been really disappointing this year. They should beat Essendon tomorrow, but the Bombers will start favourites. So we'll see how that plays out as we look to the games that are ahead tomorrow.
Yeah, massive games. And big injury news at the West Coast Eagles. Josh Kennedy being cleared of his calf. McGovern and Barrass come in against the Crows. And the Blues have dropped a couple, Michael Gibbons and Jack News.
Yeah, no Taylor Walker for the Crows either. So huge game. Looking forward to that Melbourne and Carlton game. Big game for David Teague. And Patrick Cripps has been named, so he'll play despite having a fractured back. We'll see how he goes.
All right, so one more thing. How could we miss this from the round 9 action, Kane? Zach Tui, I reckon it's gone about 70 metres.
It has. So the best things in footy are a hanger. Second best is a torp.
Yep.
And that was one of the great torps. So it's gone over the centre square line, and they set up a scoring opportunity out of that with not one player touching it. it's amazing that not many more players do it. I mean, what a weapon that would be if you could have a player that could consistently hit that.
Let's see if we see some more in round 10 next week. We'll see you then here on Round So Far.